yeah, these 5-drops that let you draw extra cards are too powerful. We can't let that happen. Ban that fucking card. Don't ban this. Like that's stupid. So like we're gonna use the word of the day again. That's dog shit reason. Like don't do that.
Dude. Welcome back to the Casting Call cEDH podcast. I'm Blake.
And I'm Chase, and today we're going to be going over the ban list and see what we think should be unbanned coming up in April.
So how do you want to start this then?
Well, last week we talked about the brackets and we talked about, our initial thoughts on it, and we talked about the game changers, and, we didn't really start getting into the bans because they also made part of that announcement of coming up in April. They're not going to ban anything, but they are planning on unbanning things.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully, by the time that people are seeing this today, they've been commenting on our previous video and letting us know, what do you want to see that might be coming off of this list?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe for today, what we can kind of do is not necessarily break down the whole list, but rank our top 5 on what we think should be unbanned in April. So before I kind of get into any list that I started, I was kind of looking at things. I was scanning over this, and I was looking at cards that, for my list in particular, I wanted to kind of look at it and go, these are decent enough cards that I think are unban worthy, but not predictable bans. Stuff like, when we were talking earlier about Biorhythm, or what's another one that a lot of people have kind of commented on thinking might get unbanned?
Wasn't it like Fast Bond? Or maybe it's not Fast Bond.
The mono green enchantment?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Fast Bond. We just talked about Coalition Victory a little bit ago before we started recording. Like, I wanted to kind of look at cards I thought weren't going to fit those, kind of auto-include to come off the list. Did you have any thoughts making yours?
I didn't go into it with the idea of like you said, like predictability. I went into it with like, these are things that I think should get unbanned, or that I would at least like to see unbanned, just to improve. I don't know if it improves the play experience of everybody at the table, but I just think that I opted for things that I think would make cEDH feel more like cEDH, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah.
Yeah, no. I think that makes sense to me. I think we'll just kind of have to dive into these and see how it goes, just to get a better sense of where we're both at on things. So
I did want to, before we actually get into it, also, I thought that it would be kind of funny at the end of the video if, because we have our top 5 of things that we want to see get unbanned. I would actually like to see what your opinion is. If there was like one card on that Game Changers list that they gave us, what one card out of that list do you think would most likely be to get banned if they did ban something?
I like it.
Okay.
I like it. We'll get to that.
Okay.
All right. You want to start us out?
You want to do this again?
Oh my God. On shoot.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. You got me.
You go first now.
All right. So at my number 5 spot, I actually put Primeval Titan.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, as number 5. So for those of you that might not know, Primeval Titan, it's a 6-drop, 4 colorless, and 2 green, 6/6 creature giant that has trample, and whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may search your library for up to 2 land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Mm-hmm. And then I'm kind of looking at this description here as well as the reason why it got banned. And it says here, in a format where 6 mana spells are par for the course, a card which tutors for any 2 non-basic lands and then demands an immediate answer to prevent its owner from further accelerating from mid to end game is problematic. even if it's removed immediately, the lands it gets are hard to interact with. The result is that it decides but not ends the game frequently, and when it does, will often become the focal point for the rest of the game as players fight over it. We want commander games to be decided by who casts the best big spells, and prime time easily tips the scales. So I kind of look at that, and while part of it I can agree with as far as like, you know, it is like a 6-drop creature, like it's obviously going to be slotted pretty well into most green decks, but like for the most part, like unless you're doing like an Amulet of Vigor type thing, you know, so that way the lands that you're getting off of the ETB or the attack trigger come into play untapped. Like there's still lands that are coming into play tapped. And I think that you know, this says that it was banned in September of 2012. And now we have, you know, we have lands that remove lands. We've had that, but I mean, Beseiju is one of the most played lands. Like if you're running green, you're running that land, and you can blow up a land, especially a land that can't be potentially used as soon as it comes into play. Like if someone's trying to tutor a Gaia's Cradle off of this and then they're not able to use it right away, that's almost a full rotation, depending on when the prime time was either cast or put into play or whatever, that that someone could probably remove it. Or, you know, the format's a little bit slower now. Maybe this is a way to push green a little bit more, since Bowmaster is still kind of a problem. You know, I think all around this is still a really good card and has a lot of different ways of taking advantage of this, but I don't see it being a huge problem in cEDH.
Yeah, no, I don't think that this would be a problem in cEDH. I think that I don't even think that this is going to be a problem in a more casual table. It's something that comes down later in the game, and then on top of that, they even talk about like things shouldn't be taking you towards a win until like turn 6. Well, this is a 6-drop, so in reality, like maybe if you're ramping, it comes down a little bit early, but I don't see it completely warping, breaking the game, other than like you just continue to ramp unless like there's some crazy synergy with your commander. I don't have a clue. Or like maybe you're doing something to like, you know, bounce it repeatedly, but even then they're all tapped.
Right.
I just don't know what happens there. But yeah, I just don't think it's a problem. And now I can see in like a casual table, people may not like it because like you start seeing somebody all of a sudden spit out a ton of lands and they're like, whoa, what's happening there? But I mean, me and you both know that even if you have a ton of lands and nothing to do with them, like it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't end the game right away.
No.
And you're already seeing things at a casual table like the Farseeks and the Cultivates and Rampant Growth and things like that. This is kind of the same thing. It's just on a body.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that it kind of even it is a really good card to fit within the casual shell to really try to advance the pace of the games.
Yeah.
Because some of those games can go drawn out forever.
To me, it just feels weird because like sometimes you don't even see people play like the 4 mana ramp spells that basically like you cast them and they go, rather than like go get a land, it goes to hand and the battlefield. You get to search for 2 lands and put them straight into play.
Skyshroud Claim.
Yeah, but it's just extra. It's 1 extra mana to do it, and people don't run those. This is 6 mana to do that, and they come in tapped. And yeah, like the next turn, you've got a big body that you can then attack with. But again, like I just don't think that this is ending games. I don't know. I don't think that something like this is going to end the game. So I think it could come off.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you can make the argument, especially in cEDH, of like, oh, people can still ramp pretty quickly and get this out by turn 3. There's enough ways of dealing with this through like either counter magic, like maybe if this does become a prominent card, maybe people start running like strict serenades and like specific like counter target creature spells a little bit more, especially since we've talked before, like the format seems to be very like creature heavy, or at least creature centric with the combos and things like that. So maybe this is a card that people start looking at and going, oh, maybe we need to include this, or you know, just to speed the pace of their own decks. But yeah, I don't see it being a big issue at the level we are trying to play at.
Yeah. No, I definitely don't think it's an issue at the level we're trying to play at. I don't think it would see play really. I don't even know if it would see play in mono green decks. I just think it's.
I think if anything, it's a Kennan card.
Maybe
like
I could
instead of being able to put this on the battlefield, go get like an emergent zone and Gaia's Cradle.
That's fair, yeah.
Like, and then untap going into your turn or something like that. Like, or I think another thing too.
Well, you could technically get but you could get like what Talon Gates and stuff too, and like
that's what I was about to mention. Like, you could get Talon Gates off of this. Like, maybe even this allows for an opportunity for like, lands-based decks haven't been a viable strategy, I don't feel like, within cEDH for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this kind of gives a resurgence to that style of a deck.
Yeah.
I think that this just kind of allows an opportunity for like either A, unique play patterns, or B, just kind of speeds the game up in a way that but it's still not going to define what's going on in that round.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number 5 pick. What's yours?
You're gonna think I'm insane, but my number 5 pick was Nadu.
Okay.
Yeah, Nadu Winged Wisdom, and man, hang on, let me pull him up too, just so we can, because I know you read off the creature. So for people that don't know, so Nadu is a 3/4 bird wizard with flying. And it says creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn. And so, like, if you've played cEDH, obviously people know that like Nadu was pretty good. Honestly, the reason that I picked this is like, I know that it's a really good card and obviously has some pretty broken design, but I just don't. He wasn't really around that long. I think it would have been really cool to see how the deck would have evolved and like continued to grow as things changed with the meta and as things like start to get banned, unbanned, things shift around. I definitely don't think that this has any room in casual. So like if they had a way to basically ban stuff specifically for casual and it was just viable for cEDH, then I'm totally cool with that. And it's not like I missed seeing Nadu at a table. Like, it was a pretty good deck whenever it would pop off and be able to do stuff. But I just don't think it got enough time in the cEDH like spotlight. Like, it did good. And whenever it came in, it exploded on the scene and it did really well. But I honestly just would like to see, I like stuff that goes fast. And that's crazy coming from the guy that plays Esper Control. I know that sounds insane, but like, I enjoy the challenge of trying to stop good decks and trying to play against good decks and good players. And I just don't like seeing things like that basically just get completely shut down. I would have liked to see it evolve and change and do some stuff and see if people actually did figure out a way to stop what it was doing or to adapt to like a meta that is very Nadu heavy. And then we can kind of go from there. And then if it was staying a problem for a very, very, very long time, or if it all of a sudden became like the best thing, then maybe it turns into one of those situations where we're like, okay, we need to do something about it. But it never really got to like that top spot. Even whenever it was around, like there were still other decks that were running around like outperforming it. So I think that they should have probably addressed those things first, if anything, rather than just this. But I feel like the reason they hit this is specifically for casual, because people don't really play like Tim Necrom in a casual setting. Like, you're just not going to see that. Whereas people would try to play Nadu casually, and it's just not a casual card. So I would like to see it come back specifically just for cEDH, not necessarily for a casual setting. I don't think it has any place in a casual setting.
Yeah.
But I would like to see how it would look now with some of the new like green stuff that we've got, like the Enduring Vitality and some of these other cards and things like that.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. Like, I know that you kind of opened that with like being like, I know you might hate me for this, but like, I never had a problem with Nadu. Like, even in the times I've played against Nadu, I don't feel like I was ever in a spot where it's just like, oh, this Nadu is like running away with the game, because typically like I was either really able to interact with the pieces or like not ever let them like take such a big advantage in the game. And like, I think that that's the kind of the mindset you had to go into with this commander. Just as much as like you've kind of talked about like Rogsai or certain decks in the past where like it puts a target on your back the moment like you sit down at the table. This was one of those decks that did the same thing. And I agree with you. I think there wasn't, maybe there are more things now that could have either balanced this out or like found ways to play against this. I think that based on the other cards that got banned at the time that this one did. If this one didn't get banned, then it probably would have been more of a problem because it wouldn't have given the other decks an opportunity to catch up to what this is. And like, I might agree with the main issue of Nadu in particular, in that it is a very non-deterministic win.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of the games, I feel like at times, like even if you're playing cEDH, like at a, like just in a tabletop, like you're just playing cEDH, like the games never truly end. All the players just kind of scoop to it and go, okay, you win. We can't catch back up from this.
Yeah.
You know, but I've seen that happen even at a tournament too, where it's just like, we don't know how you win, but we can't do anything about this, and you've kind of locked us out of being able to stop you. So
yeah,
you know, GG.
Yeah.
And so I think that is kind of where it creates an issue, but I think it's definitely a card where it should have stayed around a lot longer. Even if they had just said, we're going to ban this as a commander and allowed, you know, decks to build around it while it's a card in the 99. I think that would have been something that would have been cool, rather than just straight up, you know, let's put the ban hammer on it and fuck this card.
Yeah.
Like, but that's what they did. So yeah, I agree with you in a lot of what you're saying. I think that it's a good one to probably come off eventually. Yeah. I don't think it'll happen in April, but I think that as we see more sets being printed and hopefully some things to kind of deal with this, whether that's stacks pieces or maybe even something within these colors to have that more deterministic win, then I think we'll eventually see this one come off.
I will say the one thing that I thought was funny was whenever people talked about the ban list and like everything that got banned, it was really funny to look at what people were upset about. And I feel like there was hardly any hate towards like the Nadu ban. Everybody was mad about like the Dockside, the Jeweled Lotus, the Mana Crypt, all that stuff. But I didn't really see very many people being like, how could you do Nadu this way? Everybody was like, fuck that bird. Good riddance. Good riddance. But I don't know. I did feel really bad too for the people that like bought all the pieces for the deck. They piloted the deck well. You get really familiar with it. And then all of a sudden they're like, yoink. And it's not like you just take that shell and be like, I'll play Kennen now. It's like, that doesn't translate well. And on top of that, I just like that it's not a 2-mana commander.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it was,
fuck Nadu.
All right. You got anything else on Nadu?
No, I don't.
All right. So my number 4, I actually chose Leovold, Emissary of Trest. So this is a Sultai, so black, green, and red, or not red, blue, legendary elf advisor, 3/3, that has 2 static abilities. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn, and whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. And so they banned this card in April of 2017, and here was their reasoning. Leovold, as a commander, creates an environment of asymmetric resource denial in the early game. Its second ability protects itself and other resource denial pieces in play, and its first ability easily combines with several other cards to strip opponents' hands and keep them empty. This creates an environment where players do not have agency, but doesn't outright end the game. So it kind of already has just what we talked about with Nadu of like a non-deterministic win. However, it's still within Dimir colors, so you can still play the Thassa's Oracle lines, things like that. I think it's interesting that it's Sultai versus like Esper or Bant, because like those two in particular, like you can kind of think of like some stacks pieces or ways to slow down the game and things like that. This gives Sultai like a different option. I think my biggest reason for putting it at the number 4 spot is because one, I even though I feel like targeted removal or targeted spells is becoming more and more prominent, I don't see it as a card that will always get someone enough card draw off of. And then 2, people make the case for Heuristic Study and Fish and things like that all the time of we need to ban these type of cards because it gives one player just too much of an advantage. This is kind of an answer to the cards like that, where, you know, like we already have cards that do that in this format, like Narset and Notion Thief and like, you know, things like that. Why not allow something like this to, you know, even if it wasn't the commander being the 99 or something, to try to, you know, not just protect your win, but slow down the game enough to where those Ristic studies and whatnot, they're not an issue right now. And it takes it to where now someone isn't like king making someone else, and you can actually play the strategy that you need to.
I feel like this card would be more acceptable if it wasn't in blue, like if it didn't have blue in it. I feel like if it was like some other off color, like, I mean, I don't know if it was like Jund or something like that. I feel like, or Mardu, I feel like people would be like, oh yeah, no, this is fine. But just because it has blue, and then it's like you shut down everybody else's like Ristics, Mystics, whatever. But then you can also have your own online.
Where we are at in cEDH, I don't see this being a problem in the format, but I do think that it kind of like would shake things up in a way that slows down some of those top decks.
And I mean, at the end of the day, like how many wheel effects are there really in blue? Like you have like
Windfall.
Yeah,
and
I don't think Time Twister technically would count, would it? Because it doesn't it shuffle all the perm, or does it?
No, graveyard in hand, so it would count.
Oh,
for
okay.
At least it's not like Notion Thief that if you do a will effect, you draw off the cards that your opponent would have drawn to.
That's hilarious.
Like, that's so and that's still in the format
with flash.
Yeah.
With a
I mean, they could still die to a Bowmaster.
Oh, it's a 1, but yeah, it dies hard.
It does so hard, dude. But I mean, I don't see any issue like with a card like this. Even in a casual setting, I don't think that you're playing the Ristics and Fish and Wheels and like things like that. So you're typically only drawing one card, and you might see more either targeted removal or targeted spells in that setting to actually trigger the second ability of this, which, I mean, I don't know if that necessarily creates more of an issue or not. It could, but I don't see a problem with this card.
I was going to say, if you have a friend that's playing casually and they're playing like cards like Time Twister, then you just need to ask them to like add you to
no, I'm not talking about.
I'm just saying, you know, that's what I'm saying. So like, I think it would probably be even worse in like the casual setting. So I don't necessarily know why it would get banned in that setting. Do you know what I mean? Like, because there's not a lot of wheels going around there.
Right.
And you're probably not playing a lot of tutors either. So you're not going to get to the wheel effects. So I feel like the place where this would be very good is the cEDH setting, like the more competitive setting, not necessarily the casual setting, but it feels like the reason it's on this list is because of the casual setting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just thought that was interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, if you're playing casually with somebody and they're running Time Twister, then you need to, I don't know, ask them.
Find new friends.
Not even that. Ask them to put you in their will or something.
So yeah, this was kind of like just a card that caught my attention, I think, and it could be interesting in the format. But I don't have anything else to say on that. What about you?
No, like I said, I actually think that that's a really, really cool card, and I like Leovold. I think that it's cool. I like that color combo anyways. Like Sultai, I think it's cool. So I mean, I don't have any issues with it.
All right, what's your number 4?
I just decided to be an absolute menace today, I guess.
God.
I picked Tolarian Academy.
Buddy.
Honestly, if it was just cheaper, then I would be cool with it. But honestly, I feel like my list was very in favor of like just go fast, because like I'm not gonna lie, man, cEDH feels a lot slower, and that's beneficial for me, especially with like the way that I play. And I'm not just like saying, oh yeah, all turbo, but like it's just I don't know. I like the speed and the craziness of cEDH, and if green can have, Guy's Cradle. I don't know why I just drew a total blank there. But if green can have Guy's Cradle, then I should be allowed to have Tolarian Academy.
Well, I mean, you play Esper. You already have access to, was it Sarah Sanctum?
Yeah,
a
but
white version of this.
I don't play that though. No, I play it in Sithis. It's great in Sithis.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's because I play a lot of one drop enchantments and stuff. Now this card would be like absolutely just busted in the format for sure. Like all the 0 drops and stuff like that. But with less 0 drops running around, I think it's even more fair now.
The 2 decks that really get a benefit of a card like this are Urza.
Yeah,
Think about that for a second. Yeah, Urza, and I was gonna throw Flubs in there to be funny.
Oh yeah,
but this would be broken. You get a bunch of artifacts, but like
be broken in like a Jorah
this
series.
Card getting unbanned. I almost feel like then it's like you have to have Dockside in the format.
Yeah.
Because you have to balance it out.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
Like, you're a madman. No, I love it. No,
I think that honestly, this is going to sound crazy, but I do think that for just like a little bit, I would like this if they would I just wish that they would like let it be the Wild West for like one season.
See what happens.
Just like say like 6 months, let it be the Wild West. Be like, we just want to see everything go crazy in the cEDH community, and then we want everybody to submit what cards they think are problems, and then we just like take the consensus and they look at the most, like now obviously you don't have to like unban the moxes and stuff like that, like we know they're going to be a problem, but if you like just for the rest of the stuff just unban it all, and then we'll just see what becomes a problem, and then whatever's a problem we just work our way down until we have a good healthy format. Not that the format's not healthy, right. I think it's fine, but it's just a lot slower.
Yeah, no, I can agree with you on the slower part. Tolarian Academy.
I mean, you could play it. It's a legendary land, and you can play it in cEDH.
Shit. I mean, I could. You're absolutely correct, but I don't know. I feel like you were trying to be a mess today. I feel like this could be the first time I like for the list. I'm going to disagree with you. I feel like this card is almost too strong.
It is. No, trust me. I get it. Trust me.
I think you did this to fuck with me. That's what
maybe.
So yeah,
I just want to see absolute. Like I said, I mean, you got to think, dude. I came from Yu-Gi-Oh. Turns in like one or turn 0, turn 1.
Right.
So like I'm not. I just wanted to see this. Like I want to see the absolute Wild West for like I said, I'd call it a season, call it like a couple months, just let the Wild West run true, and then we can finally figure out what's the problem, what's not, and then we'll truly ban what's the problem, what's not, and then we'll create a good, healthy format.
All right, well, yeah, we'll just see what happens with a card like this. That's why Besehu is a card.
That's true. This is what we call engagement farming.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, dude, this dude's a madman. I don't know what he's talking about.
You have anything else for that?
Do you have anything?
I don't have anything.
Do we even tell people what it does?
I don't think so. Tell the people what it does.
Yeah, here, I'll pull it up. Yeah, Tolarian Academy says tap, add 1 blue mana to your mana pool for each artifact you control. And in cEDH, that's very artifact heavy. That's pretty insane.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, and then it says, hey, to be fair, it was first printed in October of 98, and it stayed off the ban list until June of 2010. I'm just saying. But Tolarian Academy's power is tied to the abundance and ease of access to cheap artifacts in the earliest stages of the game. This often creates 2 or more colored mana on turn 1 and continues to scale throughout the game with no downside or additional cost at untap.
You say June of 2010, but that's about the time EDH started.
I know.
As soon as the format started, like, this card, we ain't gonna put it
in. I'm just having fun. This is our podcast. We can say what the fuck we want.
Exactly.
And if I want Tolarian Academy unbanned, then I can want that. And I can say it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, if that's my number 4, you just wait for the rest of the list.
Well, if that gets unbanned, I don't think there's a point in even continuing the rest of this. So I'll go ahead and move on. Let's go to the number 3 spot. So at number 3, I actually put Flash.
Oh, okay.
So for a colorless and a blue, it's an instant. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you do, sacrifice it unless you pay its mana cost reduced by up to 2. And so this was banned in April of 2020. And it says Flash effectively allows players to evoke a creature in their hand for 2 mana. Many other formats have recognized that the mechanism that Flash uses to do this prevents meaningful interaction. Worse, because Flash's power is tied to the creatures that are being cheated into play, its power increases over time as creature designs become more powerful. And I will agree with most of that, statement. I was not really playing EDH or cEDH at the time whenever Flash was the most prominent in the format, being like the Flash Hulk lines and things like that. But I guess this is my perspective on this. We have, even though the format has slowed down, we have gotten to the point where now we're just trying to cheat wins on top of wins. And, this card in particular was most seen in TNT. And while that is probably like one of the 2 strongest decks, like we've talked about, pretty consistently, since we've started the channel, like I don't think the Flash Hulk strategy is the most efficient at this point. So while I agree with them in saying it's a powerful card in design and will become more powerful as they make more like creatures that are going to have like these ridiculous effects kind of stapled on or things like that, I think it is kind of a way of trying to kind of stop some of that. Hey, I'm going to prevent, or I'm going to try to win on top of this win. Or makes it to where everyone's having to interact a lot more, because now, you might have 3 players trying to go off at the same time, and it might just all end up resulting in none of them get the win right then and there. So I think that this would be a good time for this card to come off. I think that it fits within the way the meta is right now. Even with some of the powerful creatures that are out there, like I think that this could potentially have a lot of unique strategies to it, as with people not just going back to Protean Hulk.
I understand why it was an issue, because like if you didn't answer it like immediately, they were just gonna flash in like the what was it, Hulk, or oh my god,
The Protean Hulk?
Protean Hulk. Yeah, I was like Hulk. I couldn't think of his name. But yeah, Protean Hulk. And then you were just going to get a bunch of creatures and like assemble crazy combos and just win from there. So, I mean, I get it. It's kind of tough if you don't interact in that moment. But I think that we're finally seeing more interaction in the game anyway. Like, we're seeing more interaction anyways. So, I don't know. I almost think that it could be, I think it would be fine, obviously. I'm over here advocating for Tolarian Academy. I don't think I'm going to have any issues with Flash getting unbanned. But, nothing can surprise me at this point. I'm just saying.
Oh, but yeah, I don't see this being a card that at this given time, I don't think is that much of an issue.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think it's a problem.
The Tolarian Academy. That would be an issue right now.
It would be an issue. I'm not.
It would solidify blue as like the most dominant color. It already is.
Yes.
Let's face it. But even more so.
I mean, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Dockside would have to come back. I hope that you put Dockside at number 3 just because you said Tolarian Academy was number 4.
Do you want to get to my number 3?
Let's get to your number 3.
Hullbreacher.
Well, fuck me. Yeah. Okay.
As you can see, you have a favor for green. I have a favor for blue. No, I don't necessarily think that Hullbreacher should get unbanned. I think that they should take Hullbreacher's mechanic and just put it in like other colors, so that you can essentially like fix the blue issue of just like, if that makes sense. So
hold on. So is number 3 actually?
It's Hullbreacher. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I put down Hullbreacher, but I don't necessarily want Hullbreacher again. I'll read Hullbreacher.
Yeah, let's read it first.
Hullbreacher has flash, so it's 2 and a blue. It's flash. It's a 3/2 Merfolk pirate. And if an opponent would draw a card except the first one they draw during each of their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token. And then Hullbreacher creates an environment of asymmetrical resource denial. In the early game, its ability easily combines with several other cards to strip opponents' hands and keep them empty. This creates an environment where the players don't have agency, but doesn't don't have agency, but doesn't outright end the game. Combined with it, it's easily splashable. It was an attractive and popular card to include in decks that were played in environments that couldn't handle it. So, I mean, I definitely agree with all that, and I'm not saying that I think Hullbreacher necessarily should get unbanned. I think that they should take that mechanic and apply it to like other colors to fix the issue that blue has, where it has. It's crazy that I'm saying this because again, I just advocated for Tolarian Academy, but I'm just saying. But I think you should. I think other people should essentially have access to things that are going to shut down the constant card draw coming from blue, or even if you had like other colors that had like. I don't know, like stuff like this that's going to help tip the scale. I don't think having a blue card do this does anything for you, because all it is like you're still playing the cards that are problematic, but then you also get to play this and shut down everybody else's cards that are problematic that are blue. So then you just like your blue deck is the best blue deck. You know what I mean? But I do think that it would be cool to like see this type of ability thrown onto cards of like different colors. Like maybe throw it onto some, you know, red cards or some white cards. But like honestly, white's really not even that. White's good, but it's not like just far and away amazing. Like it's really just the silence type of effects that you're seeing a lot of people use. And then red right now, I mean, we've established like it's kind of
dog shit.
Yeah. So like maybe instead of just like, oh, I'm gonna play Dockside and like do and like make infinite treasures that way, it's like, no, I'm gonna play something that's like a Dockside, but it's a Dockside of like, rather than an ETB create stuff to, you know, create treasures equal to everybody else. It's like, no, I'm just going to play this Dockside, and you're just going to have to kind of sit here and like, if you want to draw cards from heuristic studies and everything else, then like I get treasures. And essentially you have something almost like a Smothering Tithe, but in like a different color besides white, if that makes sense.
Right. No. And first and foremost, like I like this card. I don't think it's another card that I don't think is much of an issue right now. The description that they put on the reason for banning is pretty similar to what we just talked about with Leovold, you know, where it creates that asymmetrical play patterns. You just mentioned Smothering Tithe. The other card that kind of comes to mind for me is Trouble in Pairs.
Yeah.
That's also within white. So like it's interesting that you feel like it's a card that shouldn't be in blue, should fit in other colors. And then we said that white was kind of dog shit at times. Or no, did we say red was dog shit?
Red's dog shit.
They're both dog shit. But, you know, there's already those effects within white.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen some of that. Technically speaking, and also with Lotho. Yeah. Also being in white.
I was actually thinking about Lotho too.
Some red, Crom, like kind of has an effect like this, just how like Trouble in Pairs does with, you know, if it would be the second spell cast an opponent would do, like you draw a card.
Yeah.
Like we're already seeing some of those effects as is.
Yeah.
I think it having flash, like, yeah, it's kind of a gotcha card, but at the same time, like with where we're at in the format, like, oh, you're going to cast a Bowmaster. I'm going to cast a Bowmaster in response to your Bowmaster and kill your Bowmaster. This is another card that like it fits into that play. Oh, you're going to cast this Hullbreacher? Well, I'm going to let it resolve, but with, you know, still my trigger on the stack, I'm going to cast my Orcish Bowmaster, and then I'm going to ping it, and if someone else draws a card, I'm going to ping it down again and just kill it because it's a 3/2.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think that the stats are fair. I think that, you know, and I might agree with you, like maybe it does add a little bit too much advantage within blue, but all around I don't see it being that much of an issue, and it does kind of solve some of the biggest concerns a lot of people have, in that, you know, people feel like heuristic study is unfair, especially if it slams down early game. And then also if you're sitting like seat 3 or 4 in rotation, this could be a card that actually gets you back in the game.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good card. I think that I could see them pulling this off of the list. Again, I don't know if they'll do it in April because they're still trying to do it real slow and you know, not go full force into things. But yeah, I agree with you on this one. I think it's a good one.
I think that honestly, I like cards like this that essentially like break parity on the fact that you have multiple opponents. I like cards that say if an opponent would do something, or it, you know, like I like stuff like that. Like even I don't have an issue with Dockside. I mean, it's one of those things where you're breaking parity on the fact that you now have multiple people that you have to play against. I don't think cards like Rhystic Study, I mean, it's a great card, obviously. It's probably the best card. I mean, it's probably the best card in like cEDH if you really want to get into it. But it's just, I like stuff like that. I think that we are in a format to where it's like the only format that has something set up that way to where we can use these cards very effectively to break that parity. So I like that we have the ability to do that, and I want us to continue to have access to that. I don't want them to get rid of all the things, and then it's like, oh, like you have to just like. I think that things like Smothering Tithe, those stuff like that, I like that kind of stuff. It's unique in cEDH because of the format that we have created. I think that stuff should stay around. I don't think that you should go, well, it's too broken right here. Well, yeah, well, it's dog shit in 1v1. Like you're not going to play a Rhystic Study against somebody like in just a 1v1 format. So then it's like, okay, if you kill it for Commander, then where does it have a home in? Like nowhere. So I don't think you should just completely take, but yeah, that's just my opinion on stuff like this. But
I think we unintentionally created a word of the day.
What?
Dog shit.
Yeah. In a house full of cats.
In a house full of
dog shit.
I think, never mind. Moving on before we get into any rants on this stuff.
Okay.
We are at number 2.
Yes.
I don't know if I don't feel like mine would be controversial or not.
Okay.
But I think it's a good time for it to come off the ban list.
Okay.
So at number 2, I actually put Tinker.
Okay.
So 3-drop, 2 colorless and a blue. It's a sorcery. At the time you play Tinker, sacrifice an artifact. Search your library for an artifact card and put that artifact into play. Mm-hmm. Shuffle your library afterward. So this was banned in March of 2009. And in the description for why it was banned, it says Tinker's ability to get high-cost artifacts into play in the very early game often results in games ending extremely quickly or being locked down to the point where players cannot interact meaningfully. Because Tinker's power is tied to the artifacts that are being cheated into play, its power increases over time as artifact designs become more powerful. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. But at the same time, I think we are in a format now where we're not playing super high cost artifact stuff. Mm. The only deck that truly is that I can think of is like in Sisay I play Chromatic Orrery, but that could be cheated out. That's more overpowered than what Tinker offers. Mm-hmm. Magda has high power artifacts. Like if they play like obviously the Portal to New Phyrexia, and then is it the God Pharaoh statue, the stacks piece? Like those are expensive, and maybe if those decks want to like potentially stacks out the board early on, here's the problem: Tinker's blue. Yeah. So Magda wouldn't even have access to this card. We're already seeing effects like this with the reshape, not resculpt. I think there's a couple of others.
Was it like transmute artifacts?
We already see transmute artifact, and we're starting to see more of this resurgence of artifact-based decks, whether that's like going for like the Grim Monolith power artifact type things, mm-hmm. or Kennen Basalt. We're already seeing decks kind of take advantage of that and the pieces that allow, players to do this. And plus there's a lot more interaction in our format. Like this thing basically gets stopped by a miscast. Yeah. Not Dispel, because Dispel doesn't target sorceries, and I always forget about that. But, someone has to sacrifice a piece on their board, and for 1 blue you can counter it, and then they go, well, fuck me, I'm done, pass the turn. Like, I don't think it's bad. It would be way different if maybe this was an instant speed card, but it's not.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Like I said, I definitely agree. And honestly, it seems kind of, I think it's fair because like all of the artifacts that I could think of that you would want to be cheating out right now anyways, like maybe the One Ring, but you don't even get the cast trigger. Right. So it's like, okay, that kind of negates that. And yeah, you saved 1 mana on it, but I feel like that's fair if you're not getting the protection part of it. In all honesty, I think that you just really would see this a lot in things like Kennen and Timothras to go get like your Basalt. And like,
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I literally can't think of it. I mean, you would probably, I mean, that would be terrible rate, honest to God. But like you may see some people use it to go get like, I literally don't even know. I mean, maybe like your Wish Claw, but even that's terrible. That's horrible.
Maybe. But I mean, but then like there's other things in the format like Opposition Agent that shut this card down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Maybe it'll be like an Urza card or something. I don't know.
I definitely think the two decks that I see that this card fits in is going to be Kennen and Urza.
Yeah.
Maybe I feel like we stick it with Urza so much because of Aaron and because like not a lot of people are playing Urza currently.
Yeah.
But I mean, shit, they even listed Urza as a game changer. So maybe we'll see kind of a shift in a way. Maybe they had a card like this in mind, and that's why they put Urza down as a game changer.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, I think that I think it's pretty balanced and fair for our format. I don't know as far as the casual end goes, but I mean, this would be a card that would probably be a game changer anyway. It wouldn't be something that would be open to the first and second brackets.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
So on that is my number 2. What you got?
My number 2 is a card that people might not be very familiar with. Mana Crypt. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, dude, this just kind of goes back to the fact that I feel like cEDH has slowed down quite a bit. It's kind of crazy when you just take like a couple of 0 rocks out of the deck and all of a sudden like things slow down. I don't know. To me, it's just wild. I think that Mana Crypt really was like the symbol, like staple card, similar to what they talk about like Sol Ring is, it's like a iconic card in the format. Like it's in every single pre-con. So I feel like Mana Crypt was like that, but for cEDH. And so I just don't see why we can't just have it for cEDH. I don't know too many people that were playing Mana Crypt in casual either, but again, if you are, tell them to add them to your wheel. Like, I mean, if your friends have that kind of money, then you just, I don't know.
Well, right now it might not be too bad because they're all pretty cheap.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also like, I mean, dude, everybody just bought like the new really sick arts of them too from like the Lost Caverns.
Me.
Yeah, and it's just kind of sucky that they didn't really get to use them for very long. But yeah, I just think that I definitely think that this card was totally fine. Honest to God, I don't think if somebody's playing in casual, you're wrong. That's all I gotta say. Like you shouldn't be playing stuff like this in casual. I really don't even think that you should be playing free stuff in casual. Like there's a reason that lands are such a pivotal piece in casual. Like resources and stuff like that matter. It's just like in other games like Pokemon, for instance, like you use a lot of resource. Like that's why they have like the resources and stuff like that, the different energies. Yu-Gi-Oh is a good example. There are no resources, so people go buck wild whenever they build decks and games end very quickly. So like again, if you're playing casual, then maybe you should stop with the free stuff. And if you're playing cEDH, then give us more free stuff.
Right.
I like free stuff, And again, like this is another one of these cards that like it didn't necessarily hurt me really that bad, but I've literally seen the way that it has affected other decks. And I don't know. I think it's like a staple card of the format. Specifically for cEDH, and so I don't think that it should have been banned to begin with. And I wasn't one of the people that like went crazy and were like threatening to murder people because it got banned. But
yeah, no. and that is, I think, the main reason why I don't see it coming.
No, I agree with you 100%.
And I don't think that I think that this one stays banned to prove a point, and nothing else, because I agree with you on everything else you said. I don't have a problem with this card. Most of the people in our format did not have a problem with this card. It fit into every deck. It sped up the format. It kept the game at a good pace, and the life loss, like sometimes if you're doing the coin flips or you're doing dice rolls, however you're doing it, like it sucked taking the 3 points of damage every single turn if you just got shit luck. But I think that it really put cEDH in a healthy spot. Now it won't come off the ban list. I'm gonna say it's not gonna come off. But for the reasons that we can not only can Wizards not allow that behavior to come back or see it happen again. Like it just doesn't belong in the game.
Yeah.
So it sucks that like a small portion of even within the cEDH community kind of ruined that for all of us. It is what it is.
Yep.
And that kind of leads me into my number one.
Go for it.
Are you done with?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say.
All right, my number one is Jeweled Lotus.
Okay.
Like that's my number one.
It's an interesting take.
I don't think it'll get unbanned for the same reason we just talked about Mana Crypt.
Yeah.
But I would like to see it come off the ban list as my number one, just because for the exact same reasons that we just said for Mana Crypt, where it does speed up the format a little bit more. It makes certain commanders a little bit more viable, where like even though we've talked quite a bit about Tivit, we've talked about Atraxa a little bit, like Itali, like some of these high CMC commanders, like they would be really good strategies in the format right now, and people still play those decks. Or even like Obnixilis, even though that's a 4-drop, Obnixilis getting down on 1 was pretty crucial for strategy for that deck. I just think that it opened up a lot more decks to trying to compete within the top 5, top 10 spots, and you kind of cut a lot of decks off the moment this one got banned.
Yeah.
So I think for the format as a whole and the meta to be at a healthier place, I'd like to see this one come off of the list. But again, for the reasons that we listed, as far as people's behaviors and the threats and things like that, I don't think it will.
No, and I 100% agree with you on that. I think that it's the unfortunate reality of it. But yeah, I just think that people can't have nice things for some reason. Like, and it sucks, but I don't know. I think that card it's another one of those great examples, like what we were just talking about, where the heck else does this card see play? It's literally got the word commander on the card.
Yep.
Where else do you play it? It's literally, you might as well use it as like a paperweight or a door, like you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what you do. You use it as a bookmark? Like, I don't. Seriously, like people were like going and burning them because they're like, well, this is shit. Like, I don't.
Right.
So it literally has no place now. And so I just don't think that I don't think that was a good ban, personally.
No, and honestly, if they did have to pick between the Mana Crypt and the Jeweled Lotus to unban, I would hope that they would pick the Jeweled Lotus.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
As far as two cards that, at least with us talking about it, we both had similar reasons for it, like why it would be good. We both understood why it's there, and we both understood why it would probably stay there. But I think that this one would be the most likely one for that reason you're talking about, as far as like this is a commander specific card.
Yeah.
So
no, I definitely agree with you there. Like I said, it doesn't have a home anywhere else if not in Commander.
Yeah.
If not in Commander, then where?
And I didn't even read what it said.
Yeah,
I'll do that before I kind of pass it over to you for your number one. So for those of you that don't know what Jeweled Lotus is, or maybe even if you're new to the format, it is a 0-drop artifact that has tap, sacrifice Jeweled Lotus, add 3 mana of any one color. Spend this mana only to cast your commander. And the reason that they had this banned in September of 2024 says Jeweled Lotus accelerates big commanders, but also accelerates 4 to 5 mana commanders even more, and those have become increasingly powerful since 2020. Often drawing cards or otherwise yielding value, they offset the disadvantage of Lotus, which contributes to explosive starts, which are difficult to catch up with. I like how in the description there, like literally they call out Crom as being a problem. Like if you think about it, like 4 to 5 mana commanders that allow you to draw extra cards. Like that I think is just a bullshit reason. I'll be honest with that. But I think that being able to accelerate the big, 6-7 drop commanders, and even to some extent the 4-drop, like I mentioned with Obnixilis, like I think that's good to help with the argument here that they're making of, these 5-drops that let you draw extra cards are too powerful. We can't let that happen. Ban that fucking card. Don't ban this. Like that's stupid. So like we're gonna use the word of the day again. That's dog shit reason. Like don't do that.
Dude, Yu-Gi-Oh was I'm sorry that I've brought up Yu-Gi-Oh so many times today too, and this I don't know why, because I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore either, but they were iconic for that shit. Rather than ban the thing that was the problem, they would ban the outlet, like the thing that would help facilitate it, and then it would just continue to be a fucking problem because they would find another way to like get to it, you know what I mean?
Look what's happening right now.
Yeah.
You still have Blue Farm as one of your top decks.
Yeah, and not only that, it's like, what was it, the highest converting deck?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what the fuck?
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
I'm not gonna say the other stuff because I'm not that type of person. But fuck them.
Yeah.
All right. That was my mini rant right there. So
it's good. We needed you to have one finally. I needed to see you get emotional on the channel.
Fair enough.
Now I've got a clip. I'm not gonna say it, but that's a dog shit card.
Oh my god. So what is your number one now?
My number one card is Jeweled Lotus.
Oh my god. You let me rant about it.
Yeah, it's Jeweled Lotus also. For all the same reasons that you just said. I think that card has no home other than fucking Commander. It says Commander on the card. Where else do you play that card? Like, and again, no, it does not have a place in a casual setting. I don't think 0 mana things like that have a place in the casual setting. But for cEDH, I think that it has a perfect place. You know what I mean? It's a quick burst of mana. If you lose it, then it sucks. There's been times where I've used it to cast my commander like a dummy, and then there he goes. He dies. They counter it, they kill it, whatever, and I'm like, well, not casting him for 6. Goodbye. You know what I mean? So at that point, he's a Tivit that has to wait around the turn. Like, it's terrible. So
yeah,
it is what it is, man. But yeah, Jeweled Lotus is my number one.
All right. Well, that concludes both of our top 5. Now, earlier you said you wanted to look at the game changers.
Yes, I did.
And see if we had to pick a game changer card, which card would we ban?
Yeah, which card do you think? Which card would you ban? Which of these cards out of all of them do you think is the most problematic, I guess?
You want me to be real?
Well, say both. If you've got 2 things you want to say.
I don't think I have 2 things. There is one card that stands. Okay, never mind. I got 2. I think both of them are kind of real. And this is kind of like, I guess, ruffle some feathers.
That's good.
So let me start with the second one, and then I'll say the number 1 I think that should get banned.
That's fair.
And so at number 2, I'm going to say Ad Nauseam.
Ad Nauseam?
Yeah.
Really? I think
yeah.
Okay, go ahead and say why, and then I'll.
Because I think that is the card that more so than anything else in the format promotes more of that. I'm going to try to do a win on top of your win attempt than any other card. Not Valley Floodcaller, not Born Upon the Wind. I think it's Ad Nauseam.
Okay.
Now it would kill a deck, I think, if that card went away, but we've both kind of talked shit about that deck. So I've tried playing it. You fucking hate it.
Yeah.
We're not gonna rehash that. But I think that there are some decks that have already started trying to move away from this. Like, I think there's even been some Blue Farm decks that are off Ad Nauseam. I know in TNT, I'm not running it whatsoever. And I think a lot of TNT pilots have been off Ad Nauseam for a while.
Even in like a lot of turbo lists, like I know that like what was it, Dihada, the Mardu Dihada, that list what used to be an Ad Nauseam deck, and they've came off of it. A lot of them have, not all of them, but a lot of them have.
So I think just cut it, and we'll see what happens with the format at that point. I think my number 1 overall, and I think you're gonna think I'm crazy on this one, Thassa's Oracle.
Oh, that is on the list.
Yep.
No, I don't think you're crazy.
I think that if they were looking at a card that they want to go, okay, we are tired of like the main like top decks just winning off of this 2-card combo, and let's shake up the format. I think Thassa's is, you know, sucks to suck, Josh. You're running Thassa's in Kennen. And some people do. I've been looking at lists that have been running it, but don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Like, I think Thassa's is probably the number 1 card that needs to be banned. And those are my 2 at least. What do you got for me?
No, I didn't even, for some reason, I completely glanced over Thassa. I've read the list multiple times and I somehow glanced over it. But now that you said that, I think that that's the number 1 thing that should be banned on there. I've been saying that for a while, and I know this is crazy because I just advocated for Tolarian Academy to get unbanned. But again, I'm just doing it more for the lulz and to set fire to
The world.
Yeah. Please comment on our videos.
Please.
And there's our intro. And but no, I definitely think that that card is just, it enables wins out of nowhere. I could still, even in a shell, like an Esper shell, I could still find ways to win with stuff. Like I know that there would be ways to do it. It would make it way more complicated, but I honestly think that Thassa just allows for it. Blue is already so good with all the free counters, all the card draw, everything else. Like it's going to be the best color anyways, but then you also have the best win con and I don't think anybody can argue that. It's, to me, like it's the best win con in that color. I think if you got rid of it, then all of a sudden people are starting to look at other colors for potential, wins and stuff like that. Because even if you did that, like that completely undoes the Hazel line. Because like, what do you need? Like, how do you, even if you were a Thrasios deck, like how do you win at that point? Like drawing through your whole deck, would you have to do like some Cephaloboots and stuff like that?
You'd probably have to cast everything and do like a finale.
Okay. That would make sense.
Or like a walking ballista line, or
ballista would make a lot of sense.
Something like that. And even as you were talking, like what came to mind for me, there are 2 other win cons within blue that do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Between Laboratory Maniac and Jace Wilder Mysteries.
Yeah.
Which
both are, not only are they worse, they're like noticeably worse than
they're noticeably worse, but they still work.
No, and I agree with you.
Right?
But if you want me to be honest though, I don't think that people would, I think that people would try to run those and then they'd start to see that they're not that good.
Yeah.
And then I think that they would switch to something else.
Absolutely.
I honestly think that if you got rid of that, then I don't know what else would be the best win con at that point. Like I think that Kennen obviously would get noticeably better. Yeah. Unless you're playing Thassa and Kennen. But
we're talking to you, Josh.
Yes. But I honestly think that I would just like to see that, because I think that Dimir has been the de facto like best color pie since literally, like I would just like to see some other stuff have a chance to like actually shine and do some cool stuff, and I think that it would honestly really shake up things. I think that if that card went, it would shake up things more than anything. Yeah, because you would see a lot of card choices and things get shifted around and changed, and people would honestly, I would just like to see what that would even look like. I wonder what. I really would like to see what would be the best deck. I think Kennen obviously probably would probably be the de facto best deck at that point. But
I think you could still do like look at the 2 main decks within the either the Grixis color pile. Let's just put it that way, between Blue Farm and Rogside.
Oh yeah, like the Breach.
Like combo. Even if you don't Thassa's out, you still just brain freeze the table and pass. Yeah, like. You can still get a win that way. It's harder to, but maybe that is what kind of sets the pilots of the deck apart between those that aren't as comfortable with that line and then typically just go for the Thassa's win versus, I don't have access to a Thassa's win now. I have to go into this strategy. And maybe I can lean more into this strategy in order to make it more efficient than what it currently is.
This is a random question. Do you think that people would just play that line, like they would just play like Breach, LED, Brain Freeze, or do you think that they would also, like, since they're already running wheels and stuff, do you think they would just go ahead and add the Lab Man in and then potentially play it and then like wheel into a win, or what do you think?
Yeah, I could see that being a possibility. You know, those decks, you can already do like real stuff with like Bowmasters. You know, obviously not the blue form isn't necessarily on it, but like some of the Rog side decks are on the grinding station lines. Like I think Labman or Jace. Jace is probably a little bit too expensive, you know, especially for Rog side. I think that in blue farm it's more fitting because then you have access to like the Smothering Ties and things like that can actually generate more of your mana for it. But I think they would try it.
Yeah.
But I think that they would find out, oh, this isn't as great. Let me lean heavier into the Brain Freeze. You know, you're running more of a risk in trying to do that now that you have your main win con out. And who knows, there might be things that they decide to print that might replace Thassa's eventually.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening for a while. I think that if they want to pluck a card from this list and ban it, that's going to be the biggest card to change up the format.
Yeah, no, I definitely can agree with that. Like I said, I don't disagree with you at all there. I think that I didn't even see that card. I literally don't know how I read the list multiple times and I just missed that card every time. But yeah, that changed my whole opinion on everything. But yeah, so I definitely think that would be the card that would have the biggest shakeup on the format. So I think we're in agreement, at least towards the top of our list.
Yeah.
The bottoms of our list, we're in complete disagreement.
Tolarian Academy. I mean, I'd play it. You know I would.
Absolutely. I would. Absolutely.
But
and don't get me wrong, I obviously know that, like, I know that card's too powerful. Like, don't get me wrong. But I honestly just think that I think that there should be more of a clear delineation between the casual side of the format and the competitive side of the format. Not that, like, obviously casual is the focus of the format. We are the anomaly. We are the minority of everything. So they should be catering to the majority. Like, that's where, you know, I mean, even if it was like, if you had 10% of your, like, if you had a business and 10% of your clients were like, we want to do this other thing, and then 90% were like, no, don't do that thing, you'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah, like, I'm doing what the 90 want. Like, I don't care. Even if I lose the 10% of you, like, whatever. You know what I mean? You cater to the majority because that's where your nest egg is. So I get that. But I do think that there's a way to clearly delineate between the two. And even like with this game changer list, I almost think that rather than having like a ban list, they could have a section that's literally like only for cEDH or 4 and higher, like a bracket like that, rather than just being like ban. Yeah. And then after that, you could have banned. Like, you could have all the moxes and stuff like that. And it's like, this is a ban category. We don't want you to think that this is a pay to win format. And then in this next category, it's like, these are not allowed in 3 and below. Right. And then it's like, you just kind of delineate a little more. And then I think that would solve a lot of the problems too. And you just go from there.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. And I feel like that's even what we kind of touched on last week, like towards the end of like, maybe each bracket has its own, you know, clear distinction there of like what's banned, or like, I don't know, maybe if there were even game changers in bracket 4, you know, just to even make a more clear distinction between what 4 and 5 actually is. So I don't know, time will tell. You know, like I said, like, well, not like what we've said or what I've said, but they talked about this is just a beta test. Yeah, they're seeing and getting a feel from the community and from their own views on like what they think is going to be good, what they should do changes towards. I'm looking forward to April. Yeah, let's see what happens with it, because I feel like it's going to shake up some tournaments. And, you know, hopefully nothing too drastic right away, but we'll see what happens with it. So,
do you have anything else that you want to say or anything though?
I have nothing else as far as our unbans for today and our top 5 and our game changers. But all I do want to say is thank you so much for participating with us again today. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. Everything is welcomed and appreciated. And other than that, as always,
go play some cEDH.